Hi, welcome to your virtual orientation of your Autumn Ridge 20 MB by Starcraft. We're going to start the orientation on the outside of the trailer, and we're going to begin at the front. So one of the first things that we're going to look at is your front storage compartment. This is a pass-through storage compartment. What that means is it passes through to the other side, so the off-door side. There's a few things that we'll find in here. One of the first things we'll notice is a manual crank for your stabilization jacks. We'll talk about those a bit more in a second. And your manual crank for your electric tongue jack. Also in here is a secondary bit if you have an impact drill. With Quick Connect, you can connect this and use it to lower or raise your stabilization jacks. Now, as promised, we're going to drop down just a little wee bit and we're going to make note of your stabilization jacks here. Now, the stabilization jacks are located at the four corners of the trailer. They should never be used to level your trailer. They should only be used to snug it up to the ground once you've already have it level. There is a chance, depending on how uneven the ground is, that you'll run out of room, so you may need some blocking or additional blocking as well to put underneath the stabilization jacks in order to firmly secure it or snug it up to the ground. And take a look just to the right of your door side storage compartment door. You'll see that we have our solar ready hookup or connection point. Then we'll work our way around the front and we will make note of battery storage area. We'll also make note just in front of the battery storage area we have your dual 30-pound propane bottle storage, as well as the crossover regulator. So what this crossover regulator will do, or how it gets its name, the handle of the regulator is pointing to this 30-pound bottle. So when this 30-pound bottle drops below a predetermined pressure level, and that is determined by this regulator and it isn't adjustable. So when this drops below that predetermined pressure amount, it will automatically cross over and draw propane from the second 30-pound bottle. At this point, it doesn't matter which direction this handle is pointing in, it will just draw from the next one that has an appropriate amount of pressure. What that means is if you're camping on cold nights, you no longer have to get out and switch bottles over manually to keep yourself warm. Okay, directly in front of the crossover regulator in your propane storage area, we have your electric tongue jack. Now, I had mentioned earlier that in the front storage compartment here, we have a manual crank for your electric tongue jack, and this is where you'd use that crank. You remove the rubber stopper, and if you're ever, for whatever reason, without power and you're trying to either hook up or take it off your vehicle, this port will allow you to do so in the absence of any power. We also have the electric up and down. We have a nice loading light at night, so if you're hitching up at night. Also on the front tongue area, we have your safety breakaway switch. Now your safety breakaway switch is attached to a pin here, and this loop end is attached to your tow vehicle. In the event that your tow vehicle is separated from your RV, this pin will be pulled and engage the trailer brakes. So you may notice at times when you're hooking up, you could pull this pin partially out, but still have it remain in the housing of the breakaway switch, and it may engage the trailer brakes. I've seen it a couple times. So if you feel like you go to pull and your brakes are engaged and they shouldn't be, first quick thing to do, make sure that that is engaged fully and properly. Continue to work our way around the outside of the RV. We'll notice the off-door side of your pass-through storage compartment. We have a couple items that we're storing in here. One of which, your fill hose. I'll show you where you can use that in a moment. It is a quick connect system. And we see your 30 amp power supply cord. This is what you connect to the side of the trailer with this end. And then the other end would go to your campground plug-in or a plug-in on the outside of your house. Now the chances of you having a 30 amp plug-in on the outside of your house is probably fairly slim. So we do provide a block that will convert the plug-in from a 30 amp plug-in to a 15 amp. And then you can use it at home. The one thing that we want to make note of is most likely you won't be able to run all of your appliances and everything off the 15 amp circuit, most notably the air conditioner. So the next thing we'll come to is a fill point for your freshwater tank. You undo the cap, you can put your garden hose directly in and fill up your freshwater tank. You would do that when you're camping somewhere that you will need to use water, but it won't be there for you to connect to. So if you're going somewhere and there's no garden hose to hook up to your city water, then you should fill your freshwater tank if you're going to need water supply. And right beside that is your 30 amp connection that you connect to the campground power. I had mentioned that previously when we were looking at your front storage compartment and the power cord. Next thing we'll come to is the venting for your refrigerator. It's important that the venting remain obstruction free at all times, as proper airflow is needed for the operation of the refrigerator. Just going to move over to your docking station here. First thing we'll make note of, neat little kickstand, so then you can let go of the door. First, we had mentioned previously when we showed you your quick connect spray nozzle that you could use it in a docking station at the outside tap, and here is that quick connect right here. Also in this area we have the main input for your cable or satellite for the trailer. We also have a black tank flush input as well, so you would connect your garden hose to this input nozzle. And we have a second input nozzle which can be used either for your city water connection. That's the connection type that you would hook your garden hose from the campground to your house up to here. I have the valve handle in this position that is currently in, and then your garden hose from either the campground or your house will pressurize your system and you can use the water much like you would at home. However, before we had mentioned that fill point there for your freshwater tank, well, you can also fill it from here. So you'll note that I've changed the direction of the valve handle to this way, and as the little diagram states, that is your tank fill. So again, hook your garden hose up to here from either your house or the campground, and you can fill your freshwater tank in this way. You would do that if you're camping somewhere where there isn't going to be a freshwater supply. From there, let's crouch down and take a look at the output for your black and gray water tanks, as well as your valve handles for your gray and black water tank. As we move around the back of the trailer, one thing I want to make special note of is that black housing for a camera. This unit is pre-wired for a rear view camera. The camera would need to be purchased separately. That camera does come with a head unit that can be used inside the tow vehicle while you're driving to monitor the rear of your RV. Now as we come around to the door side, we've almost come full circle here. Let's take a look at the outside access for your hot water tank. A few things to note here. One being the anode rod drain plug, which when you're utilizing your hot water tank, you would need to have the drain plug installed. If you're ever removing it to drain the tank, always make sure you open the pressure relief valve. If you don't, when you take this out, it will come shooting out of there with all the pressure that's built up in the tank. And since we've already mentioned the pressure relief valve, the only other thing that we want to mention is the reset for your hot water tank. If it tries to light and you're unable to, and you've checked to make sure the propane is on, the valves on the bottles are open, turn the appliance off and then come back here and you can attempt to reset and wait a couple minutes and then go and attempt to light the appliance again. If we step back again, we've come back to the awning, and I want to make note of the heads at either end of the awning have speakers in them, and those speakers can be controlled via the stereo inside the RV. Let's open the door, step inside, and take a look at what we can find. First thing we'll do is turn right back around towards the door, and we'll note the fire extinguisher for the unit. It can be used outside if you have any barbecuing. It's right there, easily accessible. However, it is still easily accessible to any cooking being done inside the RV. And we'll turn. The first thing we'll notice is your couch and your Murphy bed. The MB on the 20 MB stands for Murphy bed. So in order to utilize the Murphy bed, first thing we have to do is lift up on the front edge of the couch to lay it flat. Then we'll notice On either side of the Murphy bed there are locking pins. I've already removed the locking pin on the other side in order to make it a little easier for me to video one-handed and show you guys this. You'll see it folds down. Your mattress is hidden up inside, along with some lighting. Still allows you room to get in the door and maneuver around the bed if you wish to leave it out. But you do also have the option of folding it back up. Before we leave this area of the RV, I want to make note that on either side of the couch or bed, depending on which mode you have it in, we have your USB charging point here, as well as here. I'm going to turn around and sit down on this couch that I just put back together and take a minute to show you your carbon monoxide propane detector. There's a button right on the front of this here. You can press that, the green light will disappear, it'll beep at you, a bunch of loud beeps, and if the system is good to go and functioning properly, that green light will come back and stay on. I recommend doing it every 6 months, and the easiest way to remember to do it is when you do your smoke detectors, and the easiest way to remember to do those is daylight savings time every 6 months. Just change the battery, and that way you know it's good and operating properly. Speaking of the smoke detector, there it is. There's a button here that you can press to test to make sure it is functioning properly. So you can do that periodically just to make sure, but again, I recommend every 6 months just swap out the 9-volt battery, and then you never have to wonder if it's working or not. So as we pan down, you'll see the emergency exit for this portion of the RV. There are 2 red handles on either side of the window. You flick them up, and then you can push the whole window out and escape to safety. We'll move further into the trailer and we'll come to your range and stove combo. First thing I'll mention, it says it right on there, but it has happened. Don't put anything on this glass surface, especially if it's hot or it can scratch or break the top. Also, do not turn on the cooktop or your range top with the glass down. It will break. And don't drive away with your RV and this glass cooktop up. It's another good way to have it break. So now that we've covered that, we'll cover the lighting. Line up the flame to the arrow, and then turn your sparker. It would automatically light. Same can be done for all 3 of your top burners. The only one that's any different is your oven burner, and it's exactly the same process to light. Turn to the flame, the light position, you turn your sparker. However, the difference is, while turning the sparker, you have to press and hold the knob in for the gas to be released. Right below your range and oven combo, we have your power center or load center. It's here that you'll find breakers, much like you'd have in your house, and they function the same way, and fuses like you might see in your vehicle. There are also red LED lights that will light up in the event that one of the fuses is blown or not operating properly. As with most dining room tables and RVs, this one does collapse down. The legs can be removed and stored underneath the benches or wherever you choose, and this can be laid out as an additional sleeping area. Let's take a look at your thermostat. Right now it's in the off position. In order to turn it on, you pull this top lever over and you set it the desired temperature, and that's pretty much it. When it's at the cooler end, the furnace will operate, but put out less heat, and obviously you put it to the warmer end, the furnace will operate and make it warmer. So now that I've turned it on, the fan will kick on and it will blow for a few minutes, but it should turn off soon enough so we don't have to listen to that fan noise while we're doing the rest of our video. While we're here, I'll turn to my right and we'll look at your refrigerator. It operates on gas or electric. When turned to the auto setting, it will choose electricity to operate if it is available. If not, it will select gas. Now when lighting on gas, this bottom light should be a solid lit light. If it is not, if it's flashing, that would indicate there is an issue with the propane system. Usually the likely culprit is simply that you don't have the valves open on the propane bottles in the front. If you do have them open and you just opened them, sometimes the first thing people do is come in and turn on the refrigerator. They want to get it cold if you didn't have it running already. And what happens is there's not enough pressure built up in the system, so it may not light on the first attempt. If that is the case, that's okay. Simply turn it off, wait a couple minutes, go out, make sure you have your bottles on, and then come back and try again, and it should light just fine. There, that fan finally kicked off. Let's step back and we'll take a look at the TV for your RV. And as we look at your TV, we'll make note that your radio and TV are all built into one. So we'll take a quick look at the remote. You have your source button that will switch you between sources. In this case, you would have to use that to switch to your stereo mode. So to use the stereo on your TV, it has all the buttons here, to switch between channels and all of that. The biggest thing that I want to show you on here are the zones for the stereo system. You have an A and a B. Zone A, you would press this button and use this volume control, and that will control the volume inside the RV. And zone B would be here. You'd press this button and then use these volume keys, and it would operate the volume for zone B, which is the speakers that I showed you previously out on the either end of the awning. Take a look in your bathroom. Pretty standard, a good sized tub. And we'll turn and take a look at your unit GFCI. So your unit GFCI, if tripped, will look like this. There will be a red light that comes on. When it's operating properly, it should look like that, no light. So if you go to use your 120 volt power at your kitchen sink or outside under your awning, and you find that they just aren't working, this would be the first place I'd come look. If you come and look on here, that red light could be on, and then you just hit this top reset button, and then those plugs should work again. If that doesn't work, if you're comfortable, you can also open the load center and see if there's any breakers that aren't turned on. Okay, we have your bunks here. We'll note that you have USB charging in your bunks as well. And we also have an access point underneath your bunk for storage and for the access to the inside portion of your hot water tank. If you're going to winterize this by yourself, there's two valves back here, here and here, that you need to operate in order to do so. Right now, both those valve handles are pointing in towards the hot water tank, and what that means is the water will flow through your hot water tank. If you would like to winterize your RV, then turn these valve handles and you'll see that it is now pointing in line with the water lines. That indicates that the water is going to flow through this loop. Now you have to make sure both valve handles are changed, otherwise it still won't work properly. The reason why you do that is that there's absolutely no reason why you need to fill your hot water tank full of antifreeze, especially when you have a drain plug on your hot water tank. So the next thing I want to show you is the emergency exit in the bunk area. I usually recommend, although you never want anything bad to happen, if you have kids that are going to be sleeping in here, I'd usually recommend just making sure that they know how to use this and that they can do it. You simply press down on the black tab, push the red handle out, bring it perpendicular to the back wall of the trailer, push it all the way out and open, grab the red tab on the screen, pull it out. Once the screen's removed, you can escape to safety. Alright, we're almost done here. The last things I want to show you is your water pump. Your water pump is the other part of the equation that you need, along with bypassing your hot water tank in order to winterize your RV. So I've already removed 2 red robbery screws from this insert. So we'll take that out now, or at least move it out of the way. And we can see your water pump and the fill tube for the water pump. This you would insert into your antifreeze jug. And there will be, like on your hot water tank, that valve right there. At the moment it's pointing towards the tube that goes down into your freshwater tank, so that will draw from your freshwater tank that you may have previously filled up from your docking station, or the fill point that I showed you earlier. So right now that would draw from the freshwater tank. If we wanted it to draw from the fill tube, we'd have to turn the valve and it would line up with this fill tube. That would indicate that the pump was set up for a winterizing mode. Again, once you're done winterizing, turn it back to the other way. That way it will always be ready to draw from your freshwater tank if you need it. So we'll just look up at your air conditioner. It's pretty straightforward. You can control your temperature settings, colder, less cold, and you can put it on either just a fan setting or you can put it on the actual AC setting. That does it for our virtual orientation of your new Autumn Ridge. I hope you enjoyed it and found it informative. But you're more than welcome to give us a call, and we will give you any and all information that we have access to and do our best to make sure you can enjoy your new RV. Thank you.